Hey everyone, this is Kenny Coins with Marathon Money, Financial Freedom, Long Journeys. I'm sitting here with Jordan. Uh, I actually messaged him on LinkedIn to do this podcast. He was very kind. He came in, sat down. We're gonna get into the conversation, what he's doing, what he sees for his future. I know you own a company, right?
Yeah,
Like I
that's right.
see that you own a company. Can you tell us more about that? I know you're in like global designs and digital designs, or am I correct?
Yeah, you're right on that. Yeah, so I had started my company Inertia Labs right around 8 months ago or so. So it's been fresh for 2024. What we do is we help startups or early stage companies who want to improve their design. So talking about UX design, UI design, building mobile apps, building web apps, that sort of thing. We focus on improving their design with whatever they have in order to reach new goals, whether that's metric inclined goals or whether that's growth goals or what have you. Inertia Labs jumps in there, improves your UX, improves your UI, and then delivers a solution for you rather quickly. And so my background is in design. I've been working in product design, UX design for around 9 years or so, and have worked with some really big clients. I've worked with Walt Disney, I've worked with Expedia, I've worked with Ford Motors as well, and some Y Combinator startups based out of Miami. I'm originally from South Florida, and thankfully have
No
had
way. I'm from South Florida.
really
Sorry
okay.
to cut you off. I'm from Miami too, man. Born and
Okay.
raised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So I'm here
good.
in New York now, but I'm from Miami, man. It's cool. It's cool to see what you're
Yeah.
doing.
So thankfully had a lot of great success down there and met some really great people too. And over the years working for other people, thankfully I was in a position to, make good money, get a good client list, but I had a calling to do a little bit more and do something on my own. And so that's when Inertia Labs had come to fruition. It was this idea of, hey, I love working for these big companies, but I want to do my own thing and I want to help other people in that early startup scene realize success as well. And that's how it blossomed.
How do you think you got that first connection that started this road? Like, I think everybody struggles with getting that first connection. Like, oh, my first contract job was with Expedia, or my first contract job was with Disney or with
Mhm.
Ford, whatever, like the stuff that you've done. How do you get that first initial connection? Because once you get that first big client, it's a lot easier to get to two, three, four, five, and six big clients.
Yeah.
So like I think everybody gets stuck. It's like, man, how do you even get the first one? Like everybody, you can, what I mean, you can talk about the fifth one you got, but like getting the first one, is always the hardest. So like how did that happen for you?
Yeah. For me, I think it goes back really far, to be honest with you. It comes from my parents, I would say. My parents are from Cuba. They're not from the US. So they had migrated over and had always taught me this work ethic of, no one's giving you anything. You kind of have to go out there and take it. And, no one's standing there with open doors. You have to knock. And so, yeah, it started off really early. Like my first job was working at Winn-Dixie when I was like 13 or 14. I wasn't even supposed to be there, but they needed people, to work. And so that's how I started, like bagging groceries. And so I realized early on that the amount of money that I can make is based on how hard I work. And so like after Winn-Dixie, I would go and like knock on people's doors and ask to wash their cars, to get some extra cash. So, I could buy a video game, or I don't know, go see a movie or something like that. Like that's how it all started. So moving, fast forward 20 years or so, that same work ethic has been like a foundation in my life and a foundation in my career life. And so for that first client, it was a matter of like not only just creating a resume and applying for roles, right? It's posting on LinkedIn, as you had seen, things that I find informational or things I find helpful or inspirational. Um, Messaging people at companies, messaging people that I look up to also, and being like, hey, what's going on with you? Like, I really like what you're posting and what you're talking about. maybe we can chat or have some coffee, virtual coffee or something like that. And a lot of those conversations opened the doors for me and let me get into roles. And so that first role was exactly that. I had reached out to a recruiter, made a connection, they had that role. I applied for it, went through the interview process, and that's how I landed it. So a lot of it is just like networking, work ethic, and then also authenticity, I would say. I'm not trying to like portray anything that I'm not.
That
I'm just trying to be
yeah,
myself in that
that
resume.
that
Yeah.
that's your luck. You know what I mean? A lot
Yeah.
of people said like to be able to work for multiple big companies is really luck, but it's really not, man. It's I think what you did was pretty much put yourself in a position where you have to be seen. And after that, once you got in that position, once you got in that area, you was just like, all right, now it's time to grind. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I always believe try to grind in in the square that belongs to you.
I
You know what
like
I
that.
mean?
Yeah.
Like people will grind in places and they'll put all their effort in places that it's not them.
Yeah.
And then 10 years will by and it's like, man, I did all this work and I only got this far. But if you was in your own square, pretty much like you were, you're going to get big clients and they're going to get big clients in those spaces that you're actually good at or you meant to be in. And I think that's pretty much what happened to you. And I think that helps make that first big connection. Because after that, you're leveraging from there.
Yeah, that's true.
You're just leveraging from there. And then you have to get that first initial start is going to be the hardest. But from there, you're just leveraging, leveraging and leveraging and leveraging and leveraging from there, man. So man, like with inertia, where do you see like the next I don't want to ask about the next 5 years. I want to ask about the next 12 months. Like where do you
Yeah.
see Inertia Labs going in the next 12 months?
Yeah. So I like in the next 12 months to have two or three consistent clients. We had just finished a project earlier this year that ended like around April. And then I had taken a little bit of a break because I wanted to focus on like a new strategy on gaining these next two to three consistent clients. And so thankfully, I have a conversation now next week. I had the first call this week. So next week, I'll have a more deeper conversation on a potential lead for a new client there. But if we can have two to three over the next 12 months and then bring on maybe a second person or a third person actually to help with some of those design projects, that would be great. One of the like the foundational pillars for Inertia Lab is work-life balance. And so the goal with Inertia is never to become some global industrious design agency or anything like that, or win trophies or accolades. For me, success is more like using your time how you want. And so the designers that come through and work with us, I always tell them that, like, don't overextend yourself. Don't work overnight, please. Don't uh, do extra beyond the regular 9 to 5 schedule, because it's very much like work really hard, but then also use your time with your family,
Wisely.
with your friends, go out. So I would say that would be like the biggest for the next 12 months, two to three, and then hire a third designer. We're really small. We only have 3 people right now. So
No, but I just want to tell you, man, like I started this August 26th, this initiative to do 200 interviews of like quality people like you who doing something. And so far since August 26th, I probably I'm on my 12th. Um yeah, so I've done a lot in a short amount of time.
yeah,
But I'm on my 12th video uploaded and everything. And just the kind of what you're saying, you're small. I had an interview with this guy. He has a team of like 7 people. They make 45 million a year.
yeah,
So you're good. To me, you're already going the right direction. You don't really need people think they need like 100 men. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You know what I mean? 3 people can take over the world.
Yeah, they really can. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of where the future is going, not to get too much into it, but I feel like that's where the future of work is going, where it's more so smaller teams who are like hyper focused on one thing, and they
Yeah.
do that thing exceptionally. And maybe that team is partnering with other people to build
Collaborating.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
collaborating.
And it's very like you can start seeing it in today's world. It's like Microsoft is collaborating with like ChatGPT, and
Yeah,
Nvidia is collaborating with like Apple, and they're all buying chips from each other, and like Tesla is like they're the big boys are doing it, and it's like you guys can do it too, and you don't need like this 50 man, 100 man team. You really you can't do it by yourself, but you get a solid three guys,
yeah,
3 4 guys. You can really run amok, and grow your business to uh, a substantiable size.
yeah.
And after that, you might have contractors, people that only you lease out work to
Mhm.
from time to time, and it makes it a lot easier to grow a company, tight knit, small circle, and quickly and more efficient. When you're a big house, you're moving kind of slow and sluggish sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely true, and with that being said, also the world, as you know, the world is just too quick. It's too nimble right now for these bigger companies to compete. And I do feel like smaller companies, more agile companies, companies that are able to be flexible or pivot quickly do succeed um, in this environment. So it's cool. It's cool to see or cool to hear what you're saying because I agree with it.
Yes. One another thing. Where do you see like digital product design is going?
Hmm.
Now, I hate to bring up like AI, but
Yeah.
like with AI being out there, it's like, are you guys using AI? Is that something that you're gonna have to like hone in and onto that skill to make sure you keep up with like market demands?
Yeah. So it's an interesting question, and a lot of people have their own personal take on what they're seeing. I would say with AI, as in regard to like the product design career, I would say it's just going to make like superhuman designers. That's how I see it. In a way that you're kind of already seeing that with tools like Canva, which is more graphic design. Product designers use tools like Figma, but with Canva, for example, you can pretty much just search for templates, move things around rather quickly, and produce like a load of material, in 30 minutes, in an hour. And with product design, what we would see with AI is that you would essentially type in a string or type in a text or a prompt, and that tool would be able to produce that design for you. So, for example, make uh, a mobile app for a fintech company, but make it more catered to, or have the style catered to like Gen Z, for example. And maybe the primary features are like to send money, to get money, to exchange money, and then maybe see like financial statements, something like that. And it would design all the screens for you. And then from there, you'd be able to customize it or add things or take out things and do your actual design work. So I think it's just going to make design a little bit faster. I will also say it's going to make the design role more challenging. Like you just have to work on more complex problems. Because right now, product designers will work manually, right, on a screen or a flow and think through the entire flow from start to finish. But with AI, it would just help you accomplish that way faster. So designers will have to work on more complex problems or greater problems, if that makes sense. That's how I see it
N-
happen.
it brings what you're saying with like complex problems is one thing I will always say. I feel like AI now to really like get that edge in the market for any company, especially like yours, I think you're gonna have to be more creative than ever
Yeah,
now. Now it's not gonna be about like, oh, the regular problem solving or I can do this. It's like who can think outside the box that AI can create, that you can basically project manage
yeah,
and get an edge on the market, because now your envision, your imagination is so great, so unique that nobody can think like you now. And I
yeah,
think that's where like the world is kind of like going. It's like now it's going to come down to who has the most creative ideas, the most imagination. You know what I mean? who
Yeah,
can
well,
put complex problems and make it wonderful, pretty much.
pretty much. Yeah, and I had read something, I don't know, maybe like a month or 2 months ago that was saying that the future career, the future profession, or the future skill that's needed is actually curation. It's gonna be curation because with AI, to your point, where you can just generate a thing rather quickly, but you can generate multiples of things. And then you're looking at those things and you're like, okay, this vibe matches what I'm going for. I'm going to put that out first, or this is the thing that I'm going to move forward with. And so, with that being said, I feel like curation, I agree with that. I think curation is the future skill, but also behind that layer, if you think a level lower, it's really taste. It's taste to be like, this is the aesthetic, this is the material, this is the solution that I think is going to solve for it. And so I feel like this is going to hit and this is what the people need. And let's go with that. And AI is helping that process
Yeah. Yeah.
come to
I
fruition more. Yeah.
100% agree with the taste. And that's like a way better, like, it's gonna come down to who knows, like, you have to be creative. You gotta create. But like, to be able to, at that point, it's gonna be like, this is what the people want. This is what's gonna make your app pop. This is what's gonna make your design better. You know what I mean? Because now with things so much faster and people consuming more, um, we need to figure out how to keep attention spans a lot longer.
Yeah.
And is that what you guys being in product design? Is that something you guys have to deal with?
With the attention, you're saying?
Yeah.
You know
Like,
what?
is that what companies come like talk to you guys about? Do you feel like that's a
Yeah.
problem for you guys?
So it depends on how the company sees success. So, for example, if one of their metrics is engagement, like the amount of time people spend on an app, are they using the app? Are they engaging with the features? How long are they staying? So, an example of that would be like Instagram, right? So,
Yeah.
Instagram has engagement, of course, and so yeah, when it comes to attention, they're really focused on that, and they're trying to create things or loops that keep you in the app, right? And a lot of people will say like those are evil patterns or what have you, and I agree with them. Like you shouldn't be taking people's engagement away from real life. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something. Depending on what the company sees as valuable, a valuable metric, it's definitely something that
Is that something you
they
see a
do.
lot, like clients when they come to you? Is that something that's like, that's one of our focus? Like, out of the five things I need you to focus on, this is one of them.
I see more so because a lot of my experience has been more so in healthcare,
Okay.
like healthcare design. Like our most recent client, the one that I mentioned back in January, was a healthcare client, and that was more so the metric that they really cared about was retention. So people that are coming back to the app or to the experience because of a need, and in their case, it was more catered to like people that work in nursing homes, like nurses in nursing homes and that sort of thing. So yeah, that metric was a little bit different, but yeah, I mean, it's funny. Mobile apps are funny and software is funny because these companies want to get you to use them and they want you to come back, multiple times a week or a day even. And so a lot of design is centered around creating a great
Yeah.
experience that people like, but also like pushing those metrics because, it is a business at the end of the day.
Yeah. And that's kind of what, like, I kind of wanted to kind of hear from you. It's like you're in that product design space and your goal is pretty much you have to create something that is appealing to the person that's coming in, and also keep in mind, it's like, is this taste going to keep making them come back?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a case uh, and something that designers think about often. I would say for my roles, I don't think about it as much because I'm not like a VP of design or anything like
Yeah.
that. When it comes to what we do at Inertia Labs, that's why I'm pretty particular about the people that we work with or the
Yeah.
company we work with because I do want to. One of our pillars is to build technology that's actually helping people in some way, not
Yeah.
just like taking away from them or trying to keep them engaged because of I don't know, entertainment reasons or something that's not really adding to their life. Um, if a piece of technology adds to your life or adds to your time or your freedom or your flexibility, then I'm all for it. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's just like I don't know. I get kind of bored with the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely hear you. You ever heard of Simon Sinek?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so I really like him. He's very
Yeah. He's great.
he's great. Yeah, like what's your why? And
Yeah.
I watched that TED talk a few times, and you kind of remind me of that. It's like, you know, what why are we doing this, and how is it going to help people? And then like his most of his TED talk is about how Apple did it. And then I feel like with you it's like, no, we want these type of people, these
Hmm.
type of clients we want to work with, because I want my company to represent this and not that. And I was talking to a interviewing another guy. He's in the oil and gas, and he says like he gets all these people that would come to him and they want to work with him, and they'll bring him deals. And he said like, no, this is not what we do. This is
Yeah.
like, because he's big on making sure everybody eats, like
Hmm.
his investors, his clients, his people, everybody eats. So if a deal takes away from somebody, he doesn't want to do it.
Hmm.
And that kind of reminds me of like how what Simon Sinek says. It's like Apple just wants to be. They said themselves, it's like if you're the type of person that likes freedom, if you're the type of person that like easy, and you're the type of person, it's like we only want to work with these type of people for these reasons, and these are the reasons why. And I feel like that's what like Inertia is trying, like is doing. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm only gonna work that stuff that adds value to people's life. There's already plenty of companies that pretty much their goal is to take something from you
Yeah.
and keep you there. So and I think that's great, man. I think that's wonderful. So like, what is your day to day? I think that's like important, because I think you have like a lot of good structure and foundation from what I'm hearing. It's
Hmm.
like people that hasn't started their own thing yet. It's like, how did you get to the point where it's like, okay, now this day to day is making me successful? How did you get to that point?
Yeah. For me, it's a good question. So for me, it's I feel like I have to have some type of compass or some type of pillar, and that's what's going to remind me or drive me. Because to the point of like the distraction, the ADHD, that sort of thing. I feel like it's easy to get distracted, especially working from home or going to co-working spaces or what have you. And so, what's the thing that's going to keep me grounded? And for me, once again, it's time freedom is really what it boils down to. It's the ability to use my time how I want with the people that I want. Um, to be able to say like I just don't really feel like doing something this morning or today and going outside or taking a drive or something like that, or other days being like I'm feeling real focused, let's get into it and let's try to make something happen. My life really centers around that, and there's a lot of personal reasons why and a lot of history behind that, but as far as structuring my day, it centers around that. So in the morning, waking up, going for a walk, doing a workout, and then I have a whiteboard in my office that I carry around with like the top 10 things that I want to accomplish for the day. And all those things are centered around activities that I can accomplish today, not things that like I'm very centered around what I can do right now rather than thinking about things in the future because I feel like that's a waste of energy. So I have like bigger goals, like maybe 3 month goals. And then those goals kind of boil down into like daily goals. So it's
Yeah,
like the top 10 of what I can do today. And these are goals that I know that I can do today, not things that I think I can do or maybe I can fit in. They're things that I can actually do. And then just going through and knocking them out. I'm a big, like, I feel like that's a big dopamine hit for me to be able to cross something off the list and being like, all right, that's done, move on to the next. And all those activities are centered around 1%, like moving the needle 1%, and
makes a
pushing
big
forward in
difference
that.
at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Makes
yeah,
a huge difference, man. You'll be surprised how much you get accomplished by just saying, I'm gonna just do 1%. I'm just gonna move the needle 1% up
Yeah.
today. I want to go back to like you planning out like 3 months goals. I used to be one of the individuals like 3 5 year goals, 7 year goals. C- Me personally, waste of time. I
Yeah.
started doing like 12 months, and I can tell you, like, when I did 12-month goals and I started doing daily tasks, I got 10 times more things done. 10 times
Yeah.
more things done. You know what I mean? Because I was not trying to fit in everything anymore. It was like, can I get this done this year? Can I do it daily? And I did. I built a whole website, got subscribers on it, got people paying. Then I got this subscription business, Marathon Money, and then I started this initiative to do this interviews. Um, I still have a regular job, um, and I have a daily task, and I just cross it out, and it works. And I think what you say is right. It's like it is more of a big dopamine when you have 7 things on your daily task and you just crossing it out, and it makes you feel like, oh, you know what? Let me just do this again tomorrow, and do this again tomorrow, and then it makes you feel like, you know what? Once I'm done with my 7 tasks, it's my day now.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's definitely the case, and also like time boxing too. So I'm a big advocate of that, of the idea that I can accomplish way more in 4 hours of work, 3 hours, 4 hours of work than stretching it out of 8 hours in 8 hours. I don't think that people really need to spend 8 hours a day doing something. You can smash so much more in a smaller amount of focus, like dedicated focus time, no phone.
no,
Uh, if you want to put on some music, you can. No TV though, anything like that, just straight into it. You can get a lot more, and then that's it. I don't know what the science is, so you can't quote me on it, but I think the human mind can only focus so much per day, and so after that, you're just out of
I
gas.
I think I think the same way. That's why I said like those people that work like 10-hour days, 8-hour days. It's like if you track that person, they're probably really working about out of the 10 hours, 12 hours, they're probably really working about 4 or 5 at
Yeah,
the maximum. And the
yeah,
most of the time they're dragging. And then that's when the work starts being mediocre.
that's true. Yeah,
And that's what they kind of notice. Like that's why you see like all great work. It kind of, if you're a morning person, all great work is done in the morning.
yeah,
And then you get to the afternoon, and you're just like, I'm just not answering emails because I'm just tired of seeing them. But
yeah,
and you're 100% right. I think the brain can't really focus on something incredibly long. I think 3 to 4 hours dedicated work, you're probably at your top best.
mhm,
You know what I mean? And then you probably need a good 2 hour break, and then you go from there.
yeah,
But man, dude, I really appreciate you coming on. It's kind of like coming at that 30-minute mark. Um, People that are listening out there, check out Inertia Labs. Uh, check out Jordan. Check out what he's doing. Um, Anything else you want to say before we get off?
Uh, I think the last thing, a couple last things. Firstly, wanted to thank you for messaging me, bringing me on. I think that there's going to be a lot of success with this show moving forward, and it's only going to get even more powerful. That's how I feel about it.
Man, I
From the
appreciate
beginning,
that.
there's this space, like I was saying, where there's a lot of really incredible people that are building in silence, and you have no clue until you actually get to speak with them. And that's where I find a lot of the nuggets that I have learned from.
Yo,
So
gems. Like you're
yeah, yeah,
dropping
the
gems,
gems.
dude. You learn so much from people that it's just like they're out there doing their thing, they're making great money. And you're just like, yo, you're doing that?
Mhm.
It's like, yo, that's amazing. And it's like, yeah. And then or like, for example, like they retired, shut down the business, made like 50 million. And he's like, yeah, I used to like work for NASA, and then I did this, and I said, like uh, I helped build a submarine. And it's like you never heard of that person.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Matter of fact, man, I built chips and then I sold them to Microsoft. And it's like, no way. Like he's like, yeah, the chips that you have in your phone, I was the first edition. And I was
Right.
like, it's
Yeah,
stuff like that you don't know, or like the first person that created the first logo. It's like
yeah.
You know, it's like the first logo for Disney or the first logo for any major company that you see every day. It's like you never hear that person. And then just like, yeah, done it for like 30 companies and you
Mm.
see them every day. It's like stuff like that, man. It's like really cool. And I think you
Yeah,
learned and you ask them, like, how did you stumble upon it? It's just like everybody says, man, honestly, tell you the truth, is just work hard here, then at the right position
yeah.
and then leverage. And they're in their space.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely true, and it's like going back to the mention on Steve Jobs. He has that famous quote that said like the world is made up of people no smarter than you are, and it's a call to actually just go out and try.
Yeah.
I think it's better to try than to not. And like ASAP Rocky has like a quote about that too. He's like, "How are you gonna?" He says something like, "How are you gonna make fun of people for trying? Like the
Yeah.
worst you can do is not try."
Try. You know what
You
I
know,
mean?
and actually go out there and try to do something. And you know what? If it fails and it fails and you move on, but if you go out there and do something and it succeeds, even to that point of 1%, 5%, you know that you actually built something, you accomplish something, and that's just going to give you enough leverage to do something else in the future. So, if I could leave with anything, it would probably be that. If anyone's thinking of an idea that's been weighing on you, and you think that maybe something's holding you back, just go out and try to do it in any type of experimental way and see what the outcome is going to be. Because I guarantee you're going to see something there is going to surprise you and influence you to do something even greater later on.
Yeah.
So,
And I like, man, so there's so many, the richest place on earth is the graveyard. Because that's where
yeah,
most ideas that probably would have changed the world for the better go to die. Because
yeah,
everybody's, it's like, not to like make this go any longer, but like it's a risk to start your own thing.
mm,
It's actually a scary endeavor. You're like, you're at the mercy of your own efforts.
yeah,
I mean, when you're in a big company, you're at a big company, you're not really at the mercy of your own efforts. But when you're doing your own thing and you're building your own thing, you're going off your idea that you had a dream about, you're at the mercy of your own efforts. And that's scary for people, but I don't I don't think people should go to their deathbed without trying. At least try.
yeah. That's the big one. It's the you're 80 something and you're like, I remember back in 2024 I had that idea. Why didn't I do that? That's
Yeah.
probably one of the
And
scariest things for me.
and you're watching some kid on TV that did your idea like 20 years later and you're just like, man, I could have done this.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But man, Jordan, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope everything goes well with Inertia, and peace.